What is going on, guys? We are back with another TCG Pocket video, and in today's episode, guys, we got official confirmation of what A2 set is. We did a rumor and speculation and wish list video about a week ago, where we talked about, I thought it was gonna be Gen 2. I thought we were gonna see like more item cards. I thought we were gonna see, Gen 2 stuff, and then they're gonna work their way into Gen 3, Gen 4. Like, I thought it was gonna be like A1, A2, like, and go through the regions. Nah, they just said, you know what? Let's just put the fan favorite regions smack dab first and get everyone hooked on it. So, I'm very excited about this. Honestly, like, I know that some people have, kind of started wavering on the game as a competitive game. I'm not really concerned about that. Honestly, I just have fun playing it, and be casual competitive with it, right? So, anyways, Dialga Palkia, super cool Pokemon, Generation 4, always a sick region. What also warms my little heart is, of course, you see the Lucario in the background. Lucario is my favorite Pokemon, and we got a good one that came out. So I do want to talk about the new cards. Unfortunately, the artwork for this, it's official, but it's also not the full picture. So I do apologize for the fact that we're going to have to kind of infer on some of the cards what the rest of the text is, and kind of speculate on things. But I wanted to talk about it, get my thoughts about it. You guys have been asking me in other videos to kind of talk about it. So let's hop right into it right away. We have the legends on the packs. We have Dialga and Palkia. Now, I personally believe that Dialga is probably better than Palkia based on what I'm seeing solo with this card, right? I mean, obviously there's a ton of things that are coming out, right? So, but the big thing is that this turbo move for Dialga is that once it has 2 steel type energies onto it, it does 30 damage and puts 2 steel energies onto a bench Pokemon. Now, this is significant, and the wording of this is important because, one, we don't have another energy accelerant Pokemon in this game that also deals damage while doing it. This gives Dialga a very unique space in the metagame, where any colorless energy, any steel type Pokemon, any dual type decks that have colorless space in the deck, Dialga is going to be able to function as a lead, fairly bulky EX Pokemon with 150 HP. For the 2 energy is now dealing 30. You're potentially getting 4 energy onto a, let's say, a Melmetal, right? In 2 turns, you've also dealt 60 damage, and the retreat cost is a leaf. Like, that's a really strong card. You've completely set up your bench in 2 turns to have another Pokemon come out for 4 energy and hit for 120. And if you have 2 Dialgas back to back, in 2 turns, you're able to get both Dialga. You're able to get the first Dialga set up in 2 turns to help the second Dialga come in and do 100 damage. So it seems like this card really wants to pair with Leaf, or potentially with some of the new tool Pokemon, or the new tool items that we're probably going to be getting. Well, it is confirmed that we're getting tools, but I'm going to talk about those a little bit later. As far as Palkia is concerned, I think Palkia is... I think 1 energy for 30 damage is quite good. 150 is a really big wall early. I think you're going to see Palkia be an early game wall for people, and I don't think that they're going to really attempt to go after this last move slot without really heavily committing to wanting to do the 150 damage. And when they do, it's probably going to be the only time they go for it. So you're going to see Palkia come in early, get some slash damage off, switch out, and then if you can and have the space and time to put the energy to do the 150, you have a move that can end a game at the end of the game. And that's sort of kind of what I see Palkia being. I think it's tough to say because we don't know what else is coming in the set. But from just my initial reaction to it, Gyarados loses 1 energy, Charizard loses 2 energy, you know, Mewtwo loses 2 energy, but Charizard and Mewtwo have other ways to really get energy fast every turn, right? I mean, less so Charizard, right? But like, Moltres gives you 3 shots, and you're probably getting 6+ energy onto it, and then you're doing 200 attacks, right? With Mewtwo, it's 150, but you're able to put on 2 energy every turn, even though you're discarding. So I think there's a little bit more consistency with Mewtwo at the moment over this Palkia, but obviously a Misty Heads that pops off a little bit for you is game-changing. I think Vaporeon might be a card that you can maybe allow this card to be effective late game. I'm not sure. I think it's the weaker of the 2 at the moment, and that's just based on my initial reactions. But of course, if you guys think something different, let me know in the comments. But moving on to the next 2 Pokemon that I am intrigued by is my boy Lucario and Pachirisu EX. So we have the Pikachu clone as another EX, and it looks like it's actually quite similar. So it does 40 damage for 2 energy, which isn't fantastic, but it doubles the damage if the Pokemon has a tool item attached to it. Now, in the regular TCG, we see things like Skateboard that lets you retreat without having to use the retreat pod. We see Rocky Helmet, which has the 10 damage recoil, similar to what we see in Druddigon as an item. You know, and things like that, right? Like a Focus Sash. So if you're gonna get knocked out in 1 attack, you don't get knocked out, you live with 10 HP. We've seen things like this before in the regular TCG. I'm assuming we're gonna see Gen 4 items. Excuse me. I think Rocky Helmet is going to be an item, by the way. I do think that Skateboard has the potential to be an item. The problem with that is if they make Skateboard an item, I think they're gonna have to tweak it, because I do believe that they're not going to want to make Leaf obsolete. So things like Rocky Helmet I think will be used. You know, Focus Sash I think could see a version of it. Choice Scarf, maybe something like that, like where it's like a, hey, you get to heal, you get heal 10 extra damage. Maybe like Choice Band, Choice Spec, right? 10 extra damage, whatever, right? Lucario, though, is very interesting. Lucario seems to not be an energy accelerant, but a damage accelerant, which is really, really cool. So basically what it says is that when a fighting type Pokemon uses a move on the active Pokemon of your opponent, that you will deal 20 more damage. It doesn't say anywhere that doesn't stack. So you could play 2 Lucarios in your bench as support Pokemon and have a 3rd Pokemon come out and just smack people. You know, I know that in the comment section of the last video that we did, just before this, when this dropped, basically, people were really hyped about Machamp being a potential with this. I think Marshadow's a really cool Pokemon with this, because if you have a Lucario on the bench and you have a Marshadow on the bench, you know you have an extra damage output. You know you have a Revenge Killer that does 120 now instead of 100. You still can use Giovanni to get to 130, and I think that makes all fighting types decks a little bit more consistent. And this is a 40 damage attack, but you do boost yourself, so you do 60. If you have another Lucario, you do 80, right? Is the way that I'm currently reading the card. Now, I also love that it's a full art card. We see the Medicham, we see the Mienshao, we see the Hitmontop. I think these cards are probably going to be in this set as well. Otherwise, I don't think they'd be in the picture. But yeah, I'm excited about this. Of course, Riolu is going to be an evolution into it, so it's not, you know, it is a Pokemon that you do have to set up on the bench, but I think it's a Pokemon that at the very least can be a secondary attacker for you with the benefit of being a utility kind of Pokemon. Similar to Greninja, but kind of in a different form, right? And again, Pachirisu, I think, again, fairly solid EX. It might actually slot into the Pikachu decks, actually. I could see them playing... See, the thing is the HP bar is also cut out on it, so I don't really know where it's at, but maybe you see one less Zapdos and you see one more, you see one Pachirisu come in, and then they're going to start playing items that help them out, right? So, maybe if there's a damage booster one, they'll have that. Maybe, you know, Rocky Helmet, maybe they'll incorporate that onto like a DNA or something, or whatever they're going to put it on, right? But, or Zapdos, you know, even. And potentially see things like that, right? So I think this Pokemon, you know, Pachirisu is going to see, but I do think it slots in nicely with the Pikachu archetype. Lucario fits in nicely into this current fighting kind of deck that we have, right? With the Hitmon. The thing is, though, that's the one thing. I think Hitmonlee is not going to be affected by Lucario because you have to attack the active slot, I'm pretty sure. So maybe you start seeing Hitmonlee as a 1-of again. Maybe a 2-of as long as Gyarados continues to be prevalent. But I do think that Lucario is going to make fighting types a little bit stronger up front, which is nice to see. Then Psychic gets more support in Cresselia. This looks like a 110 HP Pokemon. We don't see how much damage it does, but Moonlight Gleam, I think it says something, I don't know, Moonlight Calm or something like that. It does heal 20 damage off of Cresselia, so it does look like it's a card that really has the ability to stall and heal. So it becomes a new frontline wall for Psychic types. Not that they didn't have enough support already. Mew was already kind of a Koga package in itself. You know, Sigilyph ends up being a Psychic type version of Meowth. Psychic types have got a lot of love early. I'm surprised. I mean, I'm not surprised they put Cresselia in the set, but it's interesting to me that the sets are all kind of lining up for Psychics just to continue to be good. Like, Mewtwo's not going to get worse out of this, right? You now have a non-EX wall. We were using Baby Mewtwo for a little while. Now we're using Mew and a Jinx, and now we're gonna potentially be using a Cresselia as well. So, you know, Psychic just continues to get options. This also does work well in the Florges archetype, where the whole archetype is around healing itself. So I think Cresselia slots in nicely to that as well. Honchkrow looks like a dark type version of Electabuzz, potentially. It says something about I don't know how many energy commitment it is, but it's 100 HP, and obviously we know it's a 1-stage evolution. I think it looks like 2 retreat cost, but it could be 3. The bottom of the card was cut off. And it looks like it's deal 50 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Or one of your opponent's Pokemon. And then that way there it looks like a Zebstrika in a way. So a dark type version of Zebstrika is very useful, and I think we'll have play for sure. Moving on to the card that everyone is hyped about, Cynthia. And this looks wild to me. So basically it says if you have a Garchomp or a Togekiss on the field, you can add 50 extra damage to those Pokemon. That is crazy. That is the biggest damage booster we have seen at all. Like, we're talking Lucario potentially can do 40 for fighting types in general. That's a 1-stage evolution Pokemon that you have to get 2 of to get that 40. Cynthia is just an automatic, here you go, here's 50 damage. And we already know that the dragon types, like, Gible is a 1 energy 60 right there, right? So do we think that we're gonna see Gabite be like a 90, right? And 2 or 3 energy? And then what do we see at a Garchomp, right? It's super impactful what Garchomp's attack is going to be as to how good Cynthia is going to be. If Garchomp requires Cynthia to be even playable, okay, you make it a 4-card combo, it's not as bad, right? But I think they're about to make Dragon types the best card in the game. And I'm not against that, right? Obviously, when Gen 4 came out in the VGC and competitive Pokemon scene, Garchomp was the GOAT. And so I'm not against seeing a dragon type ace Pokemon. And we don't even know, right? Is it Garchomp EX? Is it just regular Garchomp? Are we getting a Togekiss EX? Togekiss? Like, what does Togekiss look like? We never even saw that card. So Pretty excited about what the possibility is with Gible and Garchomp and Gabite. You know, right now we're seeing a colorless energy. So are we going to see a dual type Garchomp, right? Are we going to see fire? What would they do? Fire fighting, potentially? Like, what are they going to do for that energy source? So, because Druddigon was water and fire, which, I mean, I guess they could do that as well. But yeah, I mean, I think Gible is going to be cool, especially if Cynthia can make Garchomp seem like a really OP card. I think it's going to be fun. Anyways, it's going to be a new mix-up, right? And then the last cards that we saw, and unfortunately the last one is cut off as well. We have a Leafeon. I don't know if this means that we're getting a Glaceon as well. I think it would be a little odd that they just remade Vaporeon in the water typing to then add another water typing. Like, they haven't really done a second one. They haven't done Espeon or Umbreon. They haven't done, you know... Yeah, it just looks like they need to add a few more things to kind of flesh things out. But we have Piplup, Chimchar, and Turtwig. Again, these are all the 2-stage evolution Pokemon. You know, I have a feeling that Infernape is going to be hit pretty hard. Probably for a low energy cost for a 1 attack. And potentially a second attack at a like, lose energy kind of vibe. What do we see at a Turtwig Torterra? Right? Are we going to see a move with recoil damage to kind of pay homage to Woodhammer? And kind of be the opposite of Venusaur in a way? And then Empoleon, right? You know, probably 2 attacks, maybe 1, depending on if they're EXs or not, that are going to be pretty solid. We need to see something out of these probably because they are fan favorite Pokemon. So they're probably going to have abilities of some kind, but that's sort of kind of what I'm looking at with this. Obviously, it's hard to speculate with only the baby Pokemon. But Leafeon, it looks like it's a 2 energy, 90 attack move for 90 HP. And it looks like it says that you can't attack the next turn. If that is the case, that's potentially problematic for Leafeon. And I don't know, man. I think that not being able to attack the next turn in the fast-paced version that Pocket is a death sentence for this card. You would have to leaf it out. Or maybe it's fast enough that it's just a 1 retreat cost. But not being able to attack, it's good damage. It's great damage for 2 energy. I don't know that wasting an attack is worth it, personally. So that's sort of kind of my thoughts on where we're at so far. Again, we saw that tools are going to be introduced. So I'm expecting Rock Helmet. I don't know. Is Rare Candy a tool? Like, potentially, right? You attach to the Pokemon. You then can evolve from your hand. I don't know. I know that there was a little bit of pushback in my wishlist video for what rare candies look like. But I think some of the other ideas were pretty good. I still think they could be added in some way, shape, or form, whether it's a tool. You know, maybe you have like a floating stone and it like reduces the retreat cost by 1. Things like that, right? So... but yeah, that's sort of kind of what I'm thinking we're gonna see out of this set. Oh, this I mean, this is what's been shown out of the set. This is confirmed. This is actually confirmed. So yeah, this comes out on the 30th. The 30th, I believe it is. No, the 29th. And then trading comes out on the 28th. So the trading aspect of it, I think, is going to be exciting, right? You're going to have everyone have access to at least the basic version of cards, which I think is important, right? At some point, you need to get the new players caught up, and you also need to get the players that have, you know, committed a lot, that just haven't been getting the pulls they need. They have an opportunity as well. So it gives everyone kind of like an even playing field a little bit, sort of. It does sound like you're going to need hourglasses and potentially Stardust and potentially other things to even do trading, but overall, I think it's going to be a welcome addition. So let me know what you think of these new cards. You know, obviously first impressions, it's a little bit hard to fully gauge what's going to be good, what's, you know, especially when you only have the baby Pokemon of it, and you're kind of going, okay, well, that's a crazy good card in Cynthia, but like, how bad is Garchomp going to be without it if they're giving a card that powerful that quickly? You know, I do think that every game, every set that comes out, there's a little bit of power creep, right? So maybe we're just going to see the next evolution of that. But what I do like to see, though, is that they didn't really raise the HP pools of things. Like, to have Dialga and Palkia at 150, I think at least gives hope that they're not going to start elevating things into like the 200, 300 HP pool, right? So that's promising. So with that, I want to get up out of here. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys are hyped about in terms of cards. Honestly, in terms of like a random pick that I'm just really excited is going to be a card, Bronzong. I think Bronzong's a really cool card. I would love to see a Mamoswine. I don't know if they're going to release Mamoswine right away. I don't know. I mean, they are adding Togepi, so Togekiss, so potentially they have to add Murkrow. So maybe they do have all the stage evolutions of that. Mamoswine, I think, is going to hit hard, bro. Going to hit hard and give ground types another Magic. I'm going to pull up with a Mamoswine Lucario deck. Watch me, bro. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't. And of course, once this set comes out and once I start getting the cards, we're going to have more videos of how to play a certain card. I still have stuff from other sets that I haven't even put out yet. So there's a backlog of things. Unfortunately, the new set, you know, want to get these discussion videos going. And so, yeah, I do really appreciate all the support. You know, at the time of me making this anyways, we're just under 600 subscribers. So it'd be really cool to hit that. So thanks everyone for watching, and I will see you guys